Aloha, everybody. I'm Marlin, and I'm coming to you from my homestead on the big island of Hawaii, where I'm sheltering in place during the global pandemic. One of the things we can know about the stars is they've been practicing social distancing for eons. I mean, they're light years apart, and each one of those is 9.5 trillion miles, so there's no worry about them spreading the COVID-19. My presentation is all about the stars and constellations in fiction, and on Wikipedia I found 178 references, so we can only touch on a smattering of them today. Aloha! Once upon a time, there was a planet, and the people on it fell in love with the stars in the night sky, so they brought them to Earth to be closer to them. But in doing so, they realized that when they looked back up into the night, the stars that were once there had disappeared. What were they going to do? They decided to build enormous pieces of equipment that would capture the light so they could look further and further out into space to try and find the stars again. Though science has changed over thousands of years, some of the stories that we tell have not. This is my presentation on the stars in our stories, then and now. As soon as humans were able to get off all fours and could look at the night sky, they started making stuff up about what it all meant. We humans have vivid imaginations. Can you imagine being told that Sol, our closest star, was really a chariot that was driven across the sky by a fellow with the name Apollo? Those Greeks, what were they thinking? It's not like he could fly and had X-ray vision. Now, science continued to change because we went from a Ptolemy worldview to a Copernican worldview to a Newtonian worldview to an Einsteinian worldview to a Hawking worldview, and no doubt another worldview will come about. Science changes, but the stories seem to stay the same. Look at Perseus. The Gorgon still has snakes for hair, and you will still turn into stone. We didn't change that story, so now the hair was a head of monkey tails and that you turned into ricotta cheese. Stories endure, and that's one of the things that makes them so fascinating. The first reference of science fiction was 1584, a novel by Giordano Bruno, on the infinite universe and worlds declared that there are innumerable suns and an infinite number of earths revolve around those suns. He was remarkably prophetic because many, many years later, January 6, 2015, NASA announced the 1,000th confirmed exoplanet discovered by the Kepler Space Telescope. So we don't really travel to the stars. What we travel to are the planets that orbit those stars. So, 1920, a silent film called Ghul, known for its futuristic scenography. Ghul is a demon star that dwells in the constellation Perseus. The name comes from the Arabic al-Ghul, which literally means ghoul, being a monstrous humanoid that originated in pre-Islamic Arabic religion. 1956, Alien from Arcturus is a novel by Gordon R. Dickson. The aliens in this novel are decidedly cuddly, with shiny black noses, and have a striking resemblance to the Ewoks that appear in Return of the Jedi in the Star Wars saga. Martians, Mars, the red planet, lots and lots of fiction about that. Robinson Crusoe on Mars was the inspiration for The Martian with Matt Damon. There was My Favorite Martian, a television show in the 60s, and look at all these other ones. Robert I. Heinlein, Attack from Mars, but on to 1962 and The Moon Pilot, a Disney movie based on the novel Starfire. An astronaut is going to make the first flight around the moon and meets a foreigner named Lyra, who turns out to be from the planet Beta Lyra. 6 years later, astronauts actually do circle the moon. 1964, an episode of The Outer Limit, Wolf 359. A scientist creates this little miniature simulacrum of a planet in his laboratory, and Wolf 359 is a red dwarf star in the constellation Leo. And it's only 7.9 light years from Earth. Now, 1964 brings us Mary Poppins. Lots of stars. Look at all of those in the poster. But she had one acquaintance, a personified star, Maya, who shows up to do some Christmas shopping for other sisters in the Pleiades. 6 other sisters. That's a lot of shopping to do. On to 1967. One of Star Trek's most popular episodes was Space Seed. The character of Khan was left to settle CD Alpha 5, which is a twist on the main star in Cetus, the sea monster. And Cetus is the origin of the word cetacean, which is the whale family. 1971. Michael Crichton. Now, the character in Andromeda is in Greek myths, and she's such a beauty that she lures a sea monster, has Perseus rescue her, gets a constellation and a galaxy named after her. However, in modern times, she gets associated with a deadly pathogen in the book-turned movie, The Andromeda Strain. Seems to be a fitting reference for these times. Stay safe, everybody, and wash your hands. Our next one is 1978, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's a comedy science fiction series created by Douglas Adams. It was originally a radio comedy broadcast on the BBC in 1978, but was later adapted into other formats: stage show, novels, TV shows, video game, and in 2005, feature film. Now, there was a little ditty that was sung in it, and it goes, Aldebaran's great, okay, Algo's pretty neat. Betelgeuse's pretty girls will knock you off your feet. They'll do anything you like, real fast and then real slow. But if you have to take me apart to get me there, then I don't want to go. Sirius is paved with gold, so I've heard it said. But nuts like then go on to say, see Tau before you're dead. And here we are on to Superman, 1978. Now, Antares has a number of references, not only in books, science fiction, but also video games. Superman's Krypton, home planet, revolved around that star. Antares is a giant star in the heart of Scorpio. And maybe the S stood for Scorpio Man, and we just called him Super. Now, in 1979, the movie Alien, the Nostromo, goes to a planet, LV 426, which is in the Zeta Reticuli system in the constellation of Reticulum. There's also a mention of Arcturus from colonial marines going to go there, and Prometheus returns to the Zeta Reticuli system, and the viewer returns to references of ancient Greek mythology. We just can't let it go. 1982. Now, this is a board game, and it was called Star Trader, and it was all about piracy and exploitation. Some things, I guess, never change. Mu Hercules is one of the 6-star systems. Others include Beta Hydrae, Epsilon Eridani, Gamma Leporis, Sigma Draconis. And now into 1982 and the Wrath of Khan. Khan threatens Kirk by saying, I will chase him around the Antares Maelstrom. Yeah, that didn't work out too well for Khan. But Star Trek has lots and lots of references to real stars. 1982, Blade Runner is a poignant and memorable mention of a constellation in the movie, and some critics said it was one of the best death soliloquies. The character says, I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on the fires off the shoulders of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time like tears in rain. Time to die. 1984, Dune, Frank Herbert. The home planet of House Harkonnen orbits a triple-star system in the constellation Ophiuchus, the Serpent Bearer. House Atreides' home planet is Caladan, which orbits the star Delta Pavonis in the constellation of Pavo, the Peacock. Arrakis, where the spice is mine, is on the 3rd planet from Canopus. These were fabulous books, and the movies did a great rendering. 1988 movie, Deep Impact, Mizor and Alcor are the stars besides which a young astronomer discovers a comet which is on a collision path to Earth. Now, Mizor and Alcor can be found in the handle of the Big Dipper, and sometimes they're called the Horse and Rider. Now, this one I want to mention because it's just such a cool movie. It's called Pitch Black. It was released in 2000, and it takes place on a planet that has 3 suns, so it never gets any darkness, except Once every 22 years, there's a very long eclipse where the long-leggedy beasties come out and happen to eat anything that they can find. Now, who would have thought? Harry Potter, 2001. All of the characters in the Black family were named after stars and constellations. You got Sirius Black, Draco Malfoy, Bellatrix Lestrange, Andromeda Tonks, and Remus Lupin gets both a star and a constellation named after him. So again, I mentioned there was a lot of video games that have a good grasp of stars and star systems and galaxies, and Antares is a common element in these particular video games that you're looking at right here. Transformers, 2007. On the planet Cybertron lives Transformers, which happens to orbit the stars Lambda Scorpii or Shaula. The word itself is from the Arabic al-Salwa, which means raised tail, and this star can be found at the tip of Scorpio's tail. Maybe that's why Bumblebee has a stinger. So, there's a lot to be said about the stars in our stories. We'll keep making them up, and people will keep telling them. Thanks for watching, everybody. We really appreciate you tuning in. Take care of yourself. Wash your hands. Keep your distance. Keep smiling. Keep loving one another. The stars, they're not going anywhere. Aloha.